I recently helped a client with an interesting situation. They owned property and sold some of that property off over a year ago, and they have about 40-acre parcel that has a constructed solar farm on it. The farm is roughly about 30 acres on that 40. What they were able to do, or what I brought to their attention, was the ability to sell those payments. So they were receiving payments for the solar lease of $1,000 on that 30 acres of the 40. I brought to their attention they can sell those payments. Their goal then shifted to they want to sell both the solar lease and the land that goes with it, because they're ready to exit at that time, and everybody's goal is a little bit different. We put together a strategy. They were able to not only just sell that solar lease, but the land with it, and congruently to exit that property and move on collectively while maximizing that asset that they had to bring a price that you wouldn't be able to touch unless it was downtown commercial type property in that area. Across the entire Midwest, there are fluctuations of soil productivity. Farms are what we do and what we know. Not every farm is equal. Each parcel of land is a little bit different. So when evaluating that, it makes sense to look at different options for income. Whether you inherited this property or you've owned it for 100 years, it makes sense to look at different options if you feel like you're not maximizing the value on your property. So solar and wind are a big influx throughout the last, we'll say decade here, and even more recently within the last 5 years, push on these types of projects. And these lease option payments are bringing a really high dollar per acre on the solar side or per turbine on the wind side. I know renewable side of things, we're at about 2% of our 100% goal nationwide. These projects and these companies are continuing to push forward and finding good land, within close proximity to substations, transmission lines, in order to maximize not only their profits in trying to create a renewable energy, but also when looking at it from an owner's perspective, they're able to capitalize on the asset that they've owned either for a lifetime or multiple lifetimes. When you look at a solar project or a wind project, you're going to want to look at soil fertility, staying consistent, vetting out that company, using, to say somebody like myself, to vet that company out on the process, how they are going to manage the ground that's exposed. Is there going to be erosion issues here? How are we going to handle those if they do arise? Also, removal of footings after the project is complete. Let's say after a 20-year window and they want to pull the project off the property. Making sure that there's no expense for that landowner. But the biggest thing I think that we look at is the soil fertility throughout that duration. Nothing is really changing on the soil surface level, ensuring that they're being stewards of the land and maybe planting the right grasses and different things on topsoil that's going to allow that soil to stay productive if it eventually will become farmland again, or if it's lesser ground, just making sure that the erosion side of things is taken care of. With these projects and the deconstruction side of it. Overall, these projects happening on the ground that you own, the upside is increased income, potentially having the land tied up for a consistent tenant. If you're used to leasing it out for farming or hunting, if it's within close proximity to a school or community, there's community-based programs out there to where your ground could be assisting, help get lower energy bills across that county or that direct town or township or village. There's lesser ground out there that people have that they don't really know what to do with, where they can get a consistent income. And I've seen this firsthand. Negotiating leases is that this ground, for one example, was set to have a grocery store on it 30 years ago. They never had it executed. They're renting out the tillable right now for about $160 per acre. We were able to go out and find somebody that would lease it on the solar side, and we locked them in at an option of $2,600 per acre on a 30-year or a 20-year schedule. So the trajectory of their legacy is now shifted on that piece of property, because it's not just them going to benefit from it, it's their kids, and so on. And then also having the option to sell those lease payments is another huge benefit to having a project get in place still owning the land, but then selling the lease payments and maybe get into other assets like multifamily, more farmland, maybe finding another piece of property that you want to hunt on. There's a myriad of different things that you can pull from selling those lease payments and 1031ing them into another asset.